The new executive series would not be possible without the tremendous support of our sponsors. Thank you to all of our sponsors who have continuously supported the LVEDC mission during this time. Thank you to our presenting sponsor, Lehigh Valley Health Network. Our premier sponsor, Capital Blue Cross. Gold sponsor, Fitzpatrick Lenson Buba. Our event sponsors, Boyle Construction, Clunk & Milan Advertising, and Olympus Corporation of the Americas. Thank you to our interview sponsor, Victaulic, our production sponsor, Countess Communications, and our hosts throughout the Lehigh Valley. Thanks again to all of our sponsors. We hope you enjoy the new executive series.
On behalf of Capital Blue Cross, I would like to welcome you to the LVEDC Executive Interview Series. As a proud member of the Lehigh Valley business community, Capital Blue Cross recognizes the importance of economic development and the critical role that business leaders play in the growth and development of our region. That's why we decided to sponsor this important series, so you can hear the visions and plans that keep our valley on the cutting edge directly from these key leaders. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Hello, I'm Don Cunningham, President and CEO of the Lehigh Valley Economic Development Corporation. Welcome to another episode of Meet the New Executive, our series to introduce the Lehigh Valley community to the new business leaders here. It's been an astounding 18 to 20 months in the Lehigh Valley, where no short of about 20 new leaders have come in to lead our major organizations. So far in this series, we've sat down and interviewed leaders from private sector companies. Today we have a very special guest, Angelo Valletta, the new president and CEO of the Ben Franklin Technologies Center here in the Lehigh Valley. Angelo, thank you for being with us. And we want to talk a little bit about this unique organization that you've taken on to lead and the fascinating companies that incubate and gestate and come out of the Ben Franklin facilities here on the mountaintop campus of Lehigh University.
Sure. Well, thank you, Don. Thanks for having me here this afternoon.
Well, it's great to have you here. I want to talk a little bit, I want to give the listeners a little bit of Angelo's background. He came to us just this year in March of 2021 as the President and Chief Executive Officer of Ben Franklin Technology Partners of Northeastern Pennsylvania. He succeeded the longtime CEO, Chad Paul, who retired in March. Many of us know Chad and worked with him in many different iterations over decades here in the Lehigh Valley. Angelo has more than 35 years of managerial experience in a wide range of industries, from small consulting firms to multinational corporations. Before coming to Ben Franklin, he was president and CEO of an independent community foundation in Philadelphia. We want to talk a little bit about that. In addition, you have served as a managing director, regional president, executive consulting and banking strategies in the financial services industry with a bunch of different great companies.
Yes.
You have a degree in computer science from Temple University and an MBA in management from Philadelphia University. But most importantly, now you're here in the Lehigh Valley. And you're running Ben Franklin. Thank you very much. And you've lived in New Jersey, you've lived in Philadelphia, yes, right? But now you're here in the Lehigh Valley. Welcome.
Thank you.
And I really wanted to sit down with you because I hold Ben Franklin and its work in such high regard. And I think anyone with a interest in economic growth, incubating companies, has to appreciate the work that this organization has done over decades. And we know that there are 4 centers in Pennsylvania, and that this center does not serve just the Lehigh Valley. However, its location here at Lehigh University has just been an incredible catalyst to companies growing here. And I want you to talk a little bit about the idea behind Ben Franklin.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thanks, Don. I appreciate that. And great opening question. I appreciate you setting that level for us. So really, here at Ben Franklin, we were set up by the iconic Governor Dick Thornburgh. And his genius was to invest into the Ben Franklins throughout the state of Pennsylvania. And really, where one of the genius of it is that Governor Thornburgh and every governor since then, with their investments into the Ben Franklins, is paramount because Pennsylvania really is 4 distinct areas, right? So, of
For
course,
the Ben Franklin,
from a Ben
structure.
Franklin
So you have
structure
what,
perspective, you have Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, right? With Innovation Works in Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Ben Franklin, Southeastern PA. Then you have Central PA, which takes Harrisburg all the way up to State College.
Right, and that's located in State College?
Located in Harrisburg.
In Harrisburg,
Going
okay.
up to State College in that geographic area.
Yeah.
And then you have the Ben Franklin of Northeastern PA, situated here off of the beautiful Lehigh University campus. And we have 4 distinct areas within our Northeastern PA, right? So we have the Lehigh Valley, we have Bloomsburg and our upper Susquehanna area, the Poconos, and Reading Berks. So we serve from a Northeastern PA, those 4 geographic areas within Northeastern PA. And each of those 4 distinct areas has its own flavor and business from that side. What happens in Reading and Berks is a little bit different than here in the Lehigh Valley, and then of course in Bloomsburg and upper Susquehanna, and then of course the Poconos. All different, but how we have a laser focused in regards to our mission.
Right. And for the people who may not be familiar, the whole concept is that startup companies, when someone has a good idea, they can come to Ben Franklin and bring the idea here and receive support, investment, and in some cases even a place to gestate and grow their company.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. And so our mission, Don, is one of 3 things, right? So the first that you mentioned in regards to assisting and investing in early stage organizations, technology organizations specifically. And that's across the board from a technology perspective, either it be life sciences, traditional hardware and software, an idea to help lift new technology in like semiconductors and things of that nature. I'll mention OraSure a little bit later as an established manufacturer, but they were incubated here.
Sure. Solar Care Technologies.
Solar Care. So several different organizations that got their start, so to speak, from a Ben Franklin here in Northeast PA. And
that's ultimately the idea, right?
That's
Help them get started, and then they graduate and locate in Pennsylvania.
In Pennsylvania. So, it's about jobs at the end of the day, right? So we help established, early stage technology firms with their idea. We help incubate them. We have 150,000 square feet of a facility that we're sitting in today, right?
So this is on the mountaintop of
Lehigh,
South Mountain.
That's
Lehigh
right.
University.
Yeah, the Lehigh University. So our tech ventures, where we have about 40 companies that currently reside and that we're assisting incubating here in our center, early stage organizations, right? So our second part of our mission, Don, is to assist established manufacturers lift technology. So it's important that we create jobs on the front end. We want to make sure we're not losing jobs on the back end. Right?
So you're working with manufacturers that are out there on what, process improvements or technology?
Could be business process re-engineering, new technology that they want to put onto their manufacturing line. And here's one of the additional things that we do. We have established incubators and connections into all of our wonderful universities in our great state of Pennsylvania. So we're able to bring relationships and experts in, so when an organization has needs some expertise, we assist them from a funding perspective with a grant. But here, we also expect our established manufacturers to match our dollars.
Okay.
So they have a focus in regards to making sure that the project gets completed on time and on budget, because we're going to help make sure that that's happening on a consistent basis. So that's the second leg of our mission, to assist established manufacturers. And then the last thing that sometimes gets lost in all the wonderful things that we do, and I would be remiss if that those first 2 items would not be possible without the investment from our Commonwealth. Right? So the investment that they allow us to invest in those early stages. That's paramount.
So Ben Franklin is not a state agency, but it
Correct.
receives state government
Yes.
support for the mission of developing companies and
That-
supporting the growth of manufacturing.
That is correct. And it's a challenge grant. So we are granted that money from the state. It's statutorily set up by
Right.
Governor Thornburg back in the early 80s. And then we match those funds as well. Right?
Now, how
So-
do you generate money to match funds?
So we were able to receive some grants here from federal grants to create our tech ventures to help incubate
It
organizations.
was unbelievable facility.
Right,
here.
thank you,
Right.
thank
It
you.
really is.
A little
Yeah.
less than 150,000 square feet. I
Yeah.
think it's about 100,000 square feet that is true incubator space with wet labs and things of that nature. That these early stage organizations, these early stage tech firms, just would not be able to afford.
So they get
some of the
very
technology.
affordable space. to
Affordable
take their
technology.
technology
That's right.
and then to develop their ideas and hopefully grow into a company that can exit.
That's right.
And employ folks and
That's right.
generate economic opportunity.
Exit the incubator
Right.
here and
Exit
go
the- yeah,
into
yeah,
the,
yeah.
hopefully the Lehigh Valley
Yeah.
or somewhere
Right.
else in
Yeah.
Pennsylvania, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
and that's really what we would love, and that's what we're focused in on. So the investment happens, the challenge grant happens, but it's the relationships over a 40-year period that we've been able to really connect our early stage as well as our established manufacturers with those experts at the universities, with those relationships, our wonderful economic development organizations. We all work in concert from that perspective to assist these organizations. And again, our mission is three-pronged, but jobs, jobs, jobs.
Right.
That's the key.
And tremendous success over
Right.
the decades, right?
Yes.
I mean, I've been involved in work related to economic growth for almost 30 years in the Lehigh Valley. And I don't think you could point to one single entity here that has been such a catalyst for allowing businesses to grow and to locate and to make the Lehigh Valley business community stronger and better. I know less about the Northeast and Reading and so forth, but it's really been a great investment. And for folks out there who say, well, why should the government invest in this? Why can't folks with a good idea just go in their garage and do it there? How do you answer that?
Yeah, that's very easy, Don, is that these early stage organizations, they're not investable, right? So they already have went through the friends, the family, their aunts and uncles and so forth, that they would be able to help fund their idea. There's really nowhere else for those folks to go here in the Lehigh Valley. A financial institution, I've worked for financial institutions for 35 years. These organizations, they don't even have a balance sheet, let alone be able to create one, right? So if it wasn't for our great state to invest and allow for that growth, I'm going to give you a number, Don, is that for every dollar that the Commonwealth, our wonderful Commonwealth, invests into the Bends, $3.90 is returned in tax revenue from jobs. Yeah. That's key. Now that's investment, right? That's why I don't say it's funding. That's why I say it's an investment in the Bends, because we like to return that investment back in regards to jobs.
Just shifting to you for a moment,
Oh, sure.
so people can get to know you. So, long career in management, financial services. What attracted you to this idea of getting involved with a nonprofit, with a coalition organization like this that works on early stage growth, technology, life sciences firms to help them grow?
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Great question. I appreciate you asking that, so the audience can get to know me just a little bit. But I've spent better part of 35 years on the financial services side, either working for traditional community banks, large banks. I cut my teeth at the largest headquartered financial institution in the state of Pennsylvania. You can probably guess who that is. But nevertheless, I spent my first 15 years of my career cutting my teeth on that side of it. But I always had an entrepreneurial spirit, right? An entrepreneurial want. So fortunately for me, my background is in technology. So while I put innovation and I put strategy into place from a technology standpoint for operations groups, for financial services, putting in straight through processing, connecting different systems and so forth, I consider that innovative from an internal organizational perspective. And I really did that throughout my career. And I progressed to being a chief operating officer and a CIO, chief information officer, for a very, very large community bank based in New Jersey. And they were eventually sold, and I moved on to the provider side. And what I did there is I ran a division for systems for banks, right? So when a bank said, you know what, I don't feel like doing this technology stuff anymore, it's too complicated, too much security risk, we're going to let experts do that. And the largest fintech in the world, financial technology services company in the world, and that's where I was a division president, and we were able to grow that organization from 20 people to over 550 people when I left.
So clearly you understand the capital side of early stage companies and the importance of access to capital to be able to grow. What is the process of somebody with a good idea, a company, a startup, coming to Ben Franklin? How does Ben Franklin, the institution, analyze that company and decide whether it's worthy of support, either with office space or investment?
Sure. Great question, Don, because we have so many organizations. I wish we had additional funding and additional investment from.
But you have to say no a
state,
lot.
Right? We do have to say no, unfortunately, and sometimes maybe they're too early, and that's typically the case where it's just a little too early. It's more of an idea, not a functional organization. Even if it's 2 or 3 people, even if it's one person that has a great idea, but really has went down the process to maybe patent their technology or whichever be the case, or get a utility patent, they're a little bit further along, right? So yes, unfortunately, because we have to scale back the number of organizations that we do business with, because we just don't have the dollars to do that. So we'll look at them and try to determine through our experience, through a rigorous process, to determine that funding, right? And our funding to those organizations.
Do you do that? Do you have internal staff that do? Do you have outside committees? A mix of both?
Yes and no, and I'll give you the answer to that. That's okay. So what we do is internally we have a set of what we do company presentations, and our developers get together. They're the ones that are most intimately involved with those organizations, either be on the early stage or manufacturing side. So they really put together that process, the documentation, the write-ups, and then at that point a collective group decides if we want to kind of move them to the board level, because our board at the end of the day does that decisioning.
So the board makes the final decision.
Yes, they do.
So you work for a board?
Yes, I do.
Yes,
that's
so
right.
As do I.
Yes.
So, and that board is how large, and what's the type of makeup, of mix of type of people that are on the board?
Sure, we have 13 right now. But, always some folks coming in and out, aging. They're ready to truly retire and so forth. So we've got a wonderful mix. Several bankers, several folks in the life sciences, several on the PE side. So we really have a nice blend of individuals on the board that really have that makeup from that perspective, and they do a great job of really having conversations with the developer. So the developer in each one of the geographic regions that I mentioned presents that to the board, and the board makes a collective decision from that standpoint.
So each region has its own board?
Each region has its own developer. Each region has its own advisory board.
Advisory board.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. And as I mentioned earlier, a lot of highlights coming out that have come out of Ben Franklin over the years. You talked about probably the most famous one here in Bethlehem anyway.
How could I not talk about that?
Yeah,
being
Solar
here in the
Care
Lehigh Valley?
Technology,
That's
Mike
right.
Gosling, and the
Yes.
development into Orashore, which now just recently got approval from the federal government on a new saliva-based COVID test.
Yes.
They have the patent on the first saliva-based HIV test. Steve Tang runs that organization.
Yes. I know
So,
Steve.
Yes,
he's
great,
very
great
capable
guy.
and wonderful guy.
And is
yes.
very involved with us, and you know, a cornerstone of really the Lehigh Valley's life sciences economy and sector, which is growing rapidly, particularly in this. And we can talk about that a little bit later. But you want to talk a little bit about any of the other, you know, kind of numbers about that have come out of Ben Franklin, or the specific companies that have?
Yeah, I will. Actually, there's one
one
firm, VaxForm, and they're working on developing, still need approval. That's the reason why they're early stage, right? They're working on approval of an oral vaccine for COVID-19.
Okay.
Right? So, organization, he comes out of a large pharma, has developed the actual secret sauce to be able to have an oral vaccine as it relates to COVID-19. But what's more important, that's one of the things that we're very, very proud of, is that they connected with a manufacturer of formulas from a medicine perspective called USSF. They manufacture, and so they connected with each other. So two incubators, right, that connected, and so one's developing and has patented and doing research and doing trials currently on that oral vaccine. Once that happens, they get the approval. USSF is going to manufacture it for them, right? So this wonderful
USSF
synergy.
just took its a new location
Yes,
in
they
Allentown.
did. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to mention that, right? So,
Yeah.
good stuff. I mean, there's not only do we help invest in those early stage as well as established manufacturers, but we pull the relationships together, right? Relationships not only from synergies between organizations that we're incubating, but relationships with the universities that we have here, relationships with private equity firms, right, to help invest in them when they are ready to be investable from that, and then financial institutions.
So many of these companies obviously are getting multiple sources of funding, right? They're getting private equity or venture
as they hope.
capital.
That's exactly right. That's the hope.
And a lot of the folks who bring the ideas, who are the entrepreneurs, oftentimes are already working at established companies, like you mentioned, the person who was in the pharmaceutical, who have ideas and want to go and do their own thing. These aren't all 22-year-old kids coming out of college
not
that
at all.
just have a great idea.
No, you know what? There's one of the organizations that we're very, very high on is called Thread Therapeutics, right? So it's a gentleman, his wife was from the Lehigh Valley. They were actually in Florida, down south, and he developed a new testing mechanisms for urinary tract infections. So as he was scanning the United States, he stumbled upon Pennsylvania and the Ben Franklins, and because he knew of the area through his wife, relocated his business into our incubator. And what they have developed is one of a new way to identify urinary tract infections within 20 minutes of a doctor's visit versus 48 hours or longer to send that sample outside. They have developed a box that allows the physician's office to be able to identify it. But more importantly, Don, is that they not only identified that the individual has a UTI, more important is what type of strand of that UTI.
Okay.
A lot of the times the physician has to hypothesize on the strand between the blood work, the sampling, and they make their best guess, but sometimes they're wrong, right? 99.9% of the time, they'll be able to kind of figure out the strand within 1 hour. They actually have 2 utility patents on that right now, and they're going to manufacture that right here in the Lehigh Valley.
Yeah, that's fabulous. And really, that's been such the benefit of having the physical location here at Lehigh.
That's right.
For the Lehigh Valley, because you know the companies that are working on development here are right located. And I know it's just as important for you for them to look at Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, and Reading, and all those other areas. But it's certainly been a tremendous benefit to the Lehigh Valley. I want to talk a little bit about you and have folks. You know, we started this series at the beginning of COVID when we, as I mentioned earlier, when we had so many new leaders come in with no opportunity to get to meet them. You are following Chad Paul, who
yes.
For decades so many folks here have worked with and known, and a lot of people out there probably wondering who's the new guy that replaced Chad. And we can't have a cocktail during this, but if we were at a cocktail party and we were talking, you know, Angelo, what is it that you like to do when you're not here, you know, running Ben Franklin and getting your feet settled?
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I will mention, I do want to mention, you know, to replace the iconic Chad Paul. And one thing I want to, tell your audience, if they're ever near our Tech Ventures building right here on the Mountaintop campus, take a look at the Chad Paul Way. We've named our parking lot in our area.
That's great.
Called Chad Paul Way. It's something to honor him and his 2 decades of service.
And that's great for Chad because it happened while he's still alive. So
that's exactly
really nice.
right. So Chad did it his way, and that's the reason why we put that sign up. But for me, I on the personal side, Don, I love what I do. I'm very, very blessed from that perspective. So my work and my hobbies are the same. I like to do what I do here in regards to incubate and work with organizations. I'm on several boards. I'm with the Red Cross board here they call it the Rivers Chapter board here in the Lehigh Valley. So I moved my board membership from Philadelphia, from the Red Cross Southeastern Pennsylvania to here to the Rivers Chapter. And I'm looking to add to my boardship. I'm on a credit union and financial institution board. I'd like to move that to either Berks County or the Poconos, so I'd like to be on a board and be in the fabric of each one of the communities that I serve. Right, so I need to go into my 4 geographic areas on a consistent basis for advisory boards and things of that nature. But I want people to know that I am here to be part of the fabric of their community. So I want to join some boards from that standpoint. So I'm politicking right now for a few, but we'll get there, Don. So over the next
we
year
can talk.
or so. Absolutely. So, but I just want to make it impactful for all the different areas. And of course, I kind of mentioned I love the beach, so I like to spend some time at the beach. And
Jersey Shore.
Jersey Shore.
Which one do you like?
It's Brigantine.
Brigantine.
Right? It's a sleepy little beach town. It works for my wife and I. And then I have 2 children. I have an adult. My son is 31. He's a chef. And my daughter, who's 27, she has her degree from Temple University.
So it has been great getting a chance to sit and talk with you. I think it's so important for folks out there to understand the importance of Ben Franklin in the economic growth and development equation, both here in the Lehigh Valley and across the state, how critical it is and how successful it's been, and to meet you. And to get to know you, and I think everybody's going to really welcome your attitude, your energy, and your perspective about your work. And I look forward to people getting to meet you in person now that we're starting to reopen from COVID. And I'm a little late, but a warm Lehigh Valley welcome to you.
Thank you.
And thanks for joining us today. And we look forward to continuing to work with you, Angelo, and with Ben Franklin in the future.
Thank you, Don.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Dr. Brian Nestor, President and Chief Executive Officer at Lehigh Valley Health Network. At LVHN, we offer nationally recognized care close to home. Today and every day, our focus is on the health of our community. We know that a healthy community paves the way for a healthy economy. We're proud to partner with Lehigh Valley Economic Development Corporation as we work together to make the Lehigh Valley strong, vibrant, and safe.
At Capital Blue Cross, there are more yeses and fewer nos. Protecting your health and making it easier so you can spend time on what makes you smile.
It leads to
helping our communities, your families, your businesses, big and small. We have you covered, going the extra mile. It's what we do. Capital Blue Cross, going the extra mile for you.
The new executive series would not be possible without the tremendous support of our sponsors. Thank you to all of our sponsors who have continuously supported the LVEDC mission during this time. Thank you to our presenting sponsor, Lehigh Valley Health Network. Our premier sponsor, Capital Blue Cross. Gold sponsor, Fitzpatrick Lenson Buba. Our event sponsors, Boyle Construction, Clunk & Milan Advertising, and Olympus Corporation of the Americas. Thank you to our interview sponsor, Victaulic, our production sponsor, Countess Communications, and our hosts throughout the Lehigh Valley. Thanks again to all of our sponsors. We hope you enjoy the new executive series.